Hey guys, welcome to today's video. Today we're going to be covering another hero. This particular hero, I've been dabbling in his design and backstory for even longer than 11 years. He's been somebody that I was kind of playing around with in college. Um, One of the courses that I took at college was yeah, I think it was called entertainment design, and it was a class I really enjoyed. The professor was very what's the word I want to use? Very willing to allow us as students to kind of really explore the possibilities of just the entertainment industry, whether it was comic books or animation or movies or video games and all that kind of stuff. And at that point in my life, I had really had an interest in video games and developing that kind of a way and method of storytelling. And one of my original ideas was doing, a superhero video game. And one of the character designs I did was an iteration of this character, which is today's thing is the Caped Cladded Child. And so his name has actually been changed, but that was his original name. And the idea of the original video game was that it was a kid, all kids, especially boys, they always like tying like a blanket around their neck and to play as Superman or Batman or any of these superheroes. And so for this hero, the original idea was that he'd tie this cape around, and it was the cape that actually imbued him with abilities and powers. And so, and then a lot of his character design was very reminiscent of Bill Watterson, the creator of Calvin and Hobbes. In some of his strips, there was this character I believe called Stupendous Man. I think he had like Stupendous Man and then like Spaceman Spiff. And Stupendous Man was like a superhero. He who would fight against the babysitter or his mom or whatever. So, but I took a lot of inspiration from his character design as a kid. I really enjoyed the basics of that character design as I read those cartoons. And so this was the original kind of doodle that I did for him, and he's changed a little bit. His backstory's obviously changed a little bit as well from the original video game concept that I did. But anywho, so let's get into the Caped Clad Child. So actually, I renamed him to the Caped Champion. So, but yeah, with this original sketch, I kind of wanted to try doing a different perspective with him, kind of a below view. But I was just like, let's just stick with kind of with a lot of these drawings, I've been trying to do them in such a way that they show more of the character design, less less of these really cool iconic perspectives, and just more focusing on visually seeing what the character looked like. And so, as you can see, I went in and resized him, some of his proportions. The original sketch, he was looking too much like just a normal human, and so I wanted to kind of give him more of a 13 to 15-year-old boy proportions rather than a fully grown human. So you can see I'm shortening his arms and stuff like that, and increased the head, shortening legs, and I left the size of his head a little bigger and stuff like that to just kind of help drive home a young man appearance. So one of the other things too that I changed with his cape style is I gave him a bit of a shorter cape rather than like this long flowing cape that is usually quintessential for Superman or Batman and stuff like that. I kind of shortened it down a little bit. So, but yeah, and obviously with this character design, I gave him kind of more of a helmet look rather than the original doodle. He had more of a fabric kind of hood, that he would have gotten from his blanket. And this one, he has like an armored T-shirt look, and then just like basic jeans and tennis shoes, and then some armored gloves. And so, once again, kind of a slightly altered costume that a 15-year-old boy would dream up, kind of a thing. So, and to be honest, there's a little bit more backstory behind his costuming that we'll get into, but yeah. But yeah, he has a lot more to his backstory than even that I'll cover here in this video. I don't want to bore you guys too much, but I've really kind of drew out his backstory and all that kind of stuff. So let's take a look here. Here is the final illustration for the caped champion. So he went from the cape-cladded child to just the caped champion. So a little less of a tongue twister and mouthful, and just simplified it down there. But so yeah, here's the final illustration for him. We'll get into his powers and abilities. So the caped champion. In the quiet rural community of Castlegate, a small suburb of the southeastern edge of Phoenix, lived the Mason family. Their ranch stretched across several acres, dotted with watering holes and ponds. One late August afternoon, a small truck carrying a secret mixture of experimental chemicals and prototype serums raced down a dirt road nearby, pursued by several unmarked government vehicles. During the chase, one of the chemical canisters was thrown from the truck, landing near a stream that fed into the Mason family's main pond. Over the following weeks, the strange genetic compounds seeped into the water and into the bodies of the Mason brothers, who swam there almost daily. The contamination altered their DNA in extraordinary ways. The older brother, Mick, developed classic superhuman traits, while his younger brother, Zach, manifested a very different set of abilities. And we'll get into those abilities when we cover him later on. His real name for the Cape Champion is Mick Mason. He's about 5 feet 1 inch tall, an average, 13 to 15-year-old boy. He weighs about 85 pounds. And his powers and abilities. At just 13 years old, Mick Mason possessed astonishing power. Through testing conducted by his younger brother Zach, they discovered that Mick could lift over 5,000 tons, fly at speeds between 475 and 560 miles per hour, and could withstand impacts capable of leveling a skyscraper. In later battles, Mick learned that with intense concentration he could emit powerful energy beams from his eyes, hinting that his abilities might continue to evolve as his body adapts to the mutagenic exposure. To help Mick harness his powers, Zach engineered a specialized suit that increases Mick's strength and control by roughly 20%, while allowing him to focus and regulate his energy beams more precisely. So again, a lot of his character design, kind of the armored look t-shirt and stuff like that was a specialized suit that his brother engineered for him to help him, better control his abilities. And then obviously the helmet, allows him to better focus his energies that can be emitted from his eyes. So, but yeah, his power stats, he's probably by far one of the strongest heroes. Pretty dang close to like Cosmic Cadet in regards to his abilities and powers. So, super strong, super durable, has, super stamina, and, he has incredible power projection. Again, his intelligence, he's a normal, smart boy. And then, his speed, he's got some considerable speed. Not one of the fastest heroes, but nevertheless, almost the speed of sound at what he can fly. And a lot of this is just, still he's just a 13-year-old boy. And like it had mentioned earlier, with the discovery of his ability to emit power beams out of his eyes, his powers might still be evolving and developing as he himself grows. So, these abilities and powers could very well increase. So, but yeah, that is the Caped Champion. So yeah, we will catch you in tomorrow's video.